Good morning, dear cybernauts. You're welcome to yet another episode with Jezreel-Lex Energy Chambers. With you this morning is Barrister Egbe Eyong-Akumbe. I specialize in energy and natural resources law. This morning, I'm going to bring to you 4 things. I'll bring to you the definition of natural resources. I'll bring to you the definition of natural resources law. I'll bring the uses and their forms. Kindly be patient and calm, and let's get through it together. Now, when we talk about natural resources, what exactly are these things? Natural resources refers to those substances which are gotten from our surrounding environment to generate products and services that could be commercialized. Talking about natural resources law, this refers to the legal framework of natural resources and the management of these natural resources. Now we come down to its uses. Somebody could ask you, what exactly do you do with these natural resources? We keep hearing natural resources, but what is it for? It is for the well-being of its nationals. These are products that are used to create jobs and to increase the standard of life of the nationals in that host country. Now, talking about its forms, we have 2 forms of natural resources. Before I proceed to give you these 2 forms, it's important for you to know that the word natural resources is used interchangeably with the word energy. Before I start, it's important that I define the word energy to you. Energy originates from a Greek word energia, which means force in action. To science students, they will make you know that energy is the ability to get work done. In natural resources, however, energy is known to be any of those products which could be used to generate power, be it electric power or any other form that we could gain some light from it. Is it electric power for light bulbs, or is it that particular energy that comes from a flame? Whichever one that is, we are going to split it very nicely into renewable energy and non-renewable energies. Now, talking about renewable energy, it's important for you to know that this is the kind of energy that occurs naturally in our environment. They regenerate themselves continually as they are being used. An example is solar energy, wind energy, biomass. We notice that these few ones I named, there is just nothing a human being does to make them regenerate themselves. So as we use them, they just keep coming up. They keep reproducing themselves. There's no amount of sunlight we're going to use that's going to make us be short of solar energy. There's no amount of wind energy that you will use, like in developed countries where it's used in where we have mills. Most of those companies having a mill in developed countries use wind energy to operate their mill. So what you should know is that this wind does not deplete, it doesn't reduce, it doesn't degenerate, it doesn't finish, no matter how it is used. So that basically is why we call it renewable energy. We also have an example like water. If you know what the water cycle is, you will discover that each time you use water, it drains into a gutter, evaporates into the air, and falls back as rain. So all of this makes us understand that water, for example, is also a renewable natural resource. It regenerates itself. The contrary is the situation with non-renewable energy. As far as non-renewable energy is concerned, whenever they are used, they deplete, they finish, they do not regenerate. That's why we call them non-renewable, because as we use them, they do not reproduce themselves, they do not add up, they finish gradually. As we use them, they diminish gradually till they are finished from that particular reserve where they were, or from that particular place where they were first discovered. So it's important for you to bear this in mind as we proceed, because there's a lot to talk about as far as non-renewable natural resources is concerned. We could also call this non-renewable natural resources hydrocarbons, because hydrocarbons are non-renewable. These non-renewable energies also refine fossil energy amongst it. So talking about the non-renewable energies, we have petroleum, which is oil and gas, which go under liquid minerals, and we have solid minerals, which has to do with mostly mining products because they are solid. Whenever we find liquid minerals, we find them in the form of a paste, crude oil. But when we find solid minerals, it's mostly a rock, or it's a particular hard object like a stone. So that's the layman's way of making you understand it. But talking to you as a specialist in the field, it's important for you to know that we have the legal framework of hydrocarbons and we have the legal framework of mineral ores. The legal framework of hydrocarbons is divided into liquid hydrocarbons and gaseous hydrocarbons. Meanwhile, the legal framework of mineral ores, we have amongst them geothermal energy, and we also have nuclear energy. So as you follow us along this line, it's important for you to pay close attention. You're going to get to know that the non-renewable energy is not easy to find. That's the reason why it's very expensive. Both exploitation is an expensive process, and distribution marketing is also an expensive procedure, making it very, 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 very rare. If you're supposed to come across non-renewable natural resources, that means that the person had to dig open the earth's crust, because most of the natural resources are found deep within the earth's crust. So that's exactly what we'll be talking about in our part 2 of this very lovely topic. You get to understand how the Cameroonian legislators carefully divided our resources into the legal framework of hydrocarbons and mineral ores. You get to know that when it comes to hydrocarbons, you have the petroleum code and the gas code. You get to know that when it comes to the legal framework of mineral ores, you have the mining code and some other texts which are used to elaborate on these mining or hard minerals. So it's important for you to know that this non-renewable natural resources is going to be a very lengthy topic between us two. So hoping that this introduction makes you to understand what I'm going to talk about as far as non-renewable natural resources is concerned. I hope you had a very wonderful time in this very short session. Thank you. Remain blessed, Barrister Egbe.